many people assume that I am a content creator. Well, it just so happens that I am not. So content is a means to an end. And you will agree with me that there are alternative ways to create content that probably will be more attractive. I could be talking about politicians, I could be talking about prevailing news. I could send pictures of myself in a plane, in a big house, driving a nice car, my children doing interesting things. So many ways to attract attention online. But the point is not just attention. The currency is not likes and shares, even though those are important to get the real message out there. The focus of our presence online is not to become more popular, even though you need visibility in order for the real message to be to go out there. And it's important that particularly as emerging entrepreneurs that will get this right. Get it right that you are not trying to be famous. You're trying to generate value in terms of income. So if you have an audience of 5 and 2 of them are paying you $1,000 every month, it is much better than an audience of 100,000 that gives you 10,000 likes every week. I can assure you that. So it's important for each one of us as emerging entrepreneurs to basically frame our thinking in terms of what we are trying to accomplish with our online presence. What are we trying to accomplish with our online presence? And I just want to pack that, put that out of the way, and talk about it a little. What are we really trying to accomplish? And so that we will put our effort where the best value is. Now, this philosophy of mine makes me rethink my online presence every now and then. Now, the objective is to get people interested in the subject of strategy and in the subject of bootstrapping, which means pulling yourself up by the boots, which means navigating life with a sense that there is no human savior, there's no human savior coming to your space. You must take responsibility for your growth. Take responsibility for your advancement. So that is the message of bootstrapping. The message of strategy is we are not in control of the outcomes, but we must position ourselves so that we are at an advantage as the events that we do not have control over evolve. And this is the case whether you are getting married, whether you are taking a job, doing a business, getting into politics, getting into ministry, and so forth. It is a framework of thinking around how do I strike where it matters most, around what works best for me, right? Or for my context, my capabilities, my strengths, and so forth. How do we arrive at that set of things that gives me an advantage? So it's important for you to grasp the core message: strategy, bootstrapping, and so forth. So that it's not just about how many people are liking your post, because I mean, I don't have to tell you this. The likes are not converting to money in any way. I mean, it will take a while. If you're really a content creator, you can pay enough attention to turn those likes to income. But if you're not a content creator, you're an entrepreneur trying to push your business, you have an offline business, you're selling something, your predominant occupation, your preoccupation is not how to fine-tune your content to be attractive. It's how to sell your business. Now, there's a balance to it, and a balance which each one of us must arrive at in our own context. Now, I'm going to spend some time talking about simple technology for small business, which in our last advert, we rebranded to know your, we rebranded this particular episode of it, know customer experience, to know your real boss. Now, let me, you know, kind of like break it down a little more. Let me break it down a little more. We started in sometime 2024, we did an experiment. We came up with 6 areas of focus that we felt emerging entrepreneurs could benefit from in terms of knowledge about digital platforms and digital enabled processes for their small areas. We talked about customer experience, we talked about social selling, we talked about artificial intelligence, we talked about customer data management, and we talked about thought leadership through book writing. I believe those are the main ones. And we also talked about branding, basic branding using Canva. And the reason why you focused on those areas was because those are areas that I have a bit of expertise in. Those are areas in which I could get 1 or 2 resources to help me push the agenda. Now, the idea was that we could get emerging entrepreneurs to focus on some of these small things and small tools that they don't have to pay too much for in order to advance their business. Now, we called it simple technology for small business. And the beginning of the so-called simple technology for small business was customer experience. Now, customer experience is obviously not a technology, but it can be enabled by technology. And customer experience is fundamental to you as an emerging entrepreneur in the consumer goods space, because when you are dealing in consumer goods, the idea is that what you are doing is a mass market product. What distinguishes you, there are few things that distinguish you. There are few things that distinguish you as an emerging entrepreneur in the consumer goods space. One of the things is packaging, true or false. Another is your logistics, your what do you call it? Your supply chain, right? The third thing I would hone in on that distinguishes you is customer experience. How do people feel you? What do people what do people go through in making an order? And I could give so many examples where you make an order. For example, you fill a form, you provide your location, maybe it's an office location, and then the bike man who is delivering to you, the delivery man who is bringing your product that you paid for, calls you 5 times. First of all, he calls you and says, and you ask him, are you here? So in other words, why are you calling me if you're not here? So he said, oh, I'm about to set off. I just want to confirm. Now you've paid for the product, but the person wants to confirm whether you want the product or whether you are where you said you are. Well, fine and good. And then he comes, he calls you, he now tells you to come out of your office to essentially pick up something that is worth what? Maybe $1, $2, $4 to come out of your office and stop your work to do that. Now, there are so many ways people can perceive this, but what if you could elevate the experience of the customer in such a way that the bike man does not call the customer, he arrives at the doorstep and says, this is for XXY. And let me tell you something, it is not brand new. The DHLs are doing it, the FedExes are doing it. They only call, they track the location, they mark your location, they only call you when they get to where you are. They have some of them, they're beginning to develop systems that you can actually track, just like Yango, just like DHL. You can actually, Amazon does the same thing. Track your package until it arrives to you. Now, for a small business, it requires a little bit more sophisticated thinking to arrive at mechanisms to make this happen, so that when I order your product, I'm not thinking of the hassle of logistics, so to speak. And there's so many things there's so many ways I could put it, right? I'm not thinking of the hassle of logistics. I'm not thinking of the hassle of several phone calls to verify my location. It could be thinking about, I've talked to my people about delivery slots. So you tell your customers, excuse me, I deliver between 10 and 12 in the mornings and between 4 and 6 in the evenings. Please tell me where you will be at those slots so that when I come to you, I don't have to call you. I just deliver the product. Now you say, well, this is Africa. People don't manage their time, blah, blah, blah. But let me tell you the truth. Every human system has gone through, every human civilization has gone through these phases of, uncertainty, these phases where, hello, Nurdin, thank you for joining. Yeah, every human system has gone through these phases where things are not as smooth as they ought to be. So as an entrepreneur, imagine you define your process. You will definitely make adjustments. You will definitely be personalizing. You will definitely be personal about it, but you define the process. I deliver between 10 and 12. I deliver between 4 and 6. That way, you don't have to call the customer 5 times before you arrive at the customer's location. So that is a simple example of experience. And I said it earlier that, look, if you're doing consumer goods, you are selling things everybody is selling. Maybe you're selling pens, maybe you're selling computer mice. There's no like fantastic branding or sophistication that would distinguish you as much as some of these other things distinguish you. One that distinguishes you is packaging. Well and good. One that distinguishes you is your logistics, how you deliver, how you handle your supply chain. Another that distinguishes you is customer experience. How the customer perceives your respect, for example. How the customer perceives your capacity to negotiate, your capacity to listen, how you handle incidents, how you proactively notify your customers about eventualities in your business. Now, you find out a lot of small businesses, you come to buy something that they've been selling to you, and they tell you, oh, sorry, the person that brings the supplies to me didn't come today. It's so terrible. All these people, they're just not serious. But you see, the person that is speaking thinks it is the supplier that is not serious. But you see, it is that person that is not serious, because you're letting a supplier damage your reputation in front of your client, and you're trying to pass the blame on to that supplier. And one of the ways we try to deal with this is redundancy, having multiple suppliers for similar services or products, paying per use, paying per engagement, right? Let the suppliers be competing to supply to you. It's better that way than you chasing a monopolistic supplier. Let the 2 or 3 suppliers you have as your sources, let them be competing to see who will be successful at supplying to you, rather than the monopolistic ones that you are angry with them, but you can't do anything about them, right? And you don't pass on that information to your client. You don't tell your client, it's because my baby scattered my shop. That's what those things are painful personal experiences, but they don't belong to your client. He has his own problems. So when it comes to buy from you, the way you handle him is part of his experience. He doesn't want to hear about your personal problems. He wants service. So these are some of the things we're going to look at next week, November 22nd. November 22nd. I'm going to put it in this presentation so that it's just clear. Next week, November 22nd. November 22, 2025. It's very important that we are there. It's very important that we make time to be there. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that for members of Kabila, the strategy community, this event is free, right? This event is free for members of Kabila. That's absolutely amazing, right? It's absolutely amazing that this event is free if you're already in the community. I hope I'm in the right spot. Okay, where am I? That's my view. This event is free for members of Kabila community, and it is $10, rounding it up, $9.99 for those who are outside. Now, chances are that few people will come from outside, but it makes sense for me. It makes sense for those who have been on this journey with us for a while to make time to be at this event, because I'm going to touch on so many things around customer experience, and I call it common sense customer experience, because it's something we all experience, but somehow a lot of us have no idea of the potential or possible ways we could handle the issues. And like I did in the last sessions, 2024, I'm going to be telling 5 stories that illustrate what the message I'm trying to pass. And those 5 stories, I call them the case studies. We're going to be digging into them, trying to understand them better, trying to juxtapose them, those stories, those case studies, with what we are doing in our own business. Because let me tell you, it is easy to point the finger at somebody else. And I remember the last time, I think it was Chisom who gave the example of her experience with the banks. And it's a good thing to recognize poor customer experience, but it's also a good thing to recognize it within your own space, so that you are doing something about it in your own space, rather than blaming other people who are doing nothing about it in their space. So it's important to contextualize the knowledge, and then really come to a point where you yourself are doing something about something you are angry about. Some people say that if you essentially recognize the problem, probably you're the one meant to solve that problem. Maybe you're the one meant to solve a problem, or maybe solving that problem would be advantageous to you. You get? So solving a problem you recognized may be advantageous to you. It may be advantageous to you. Solving a problem where people are angry. Now, I'll give another example where somebody walks into a shop many times. You walk into a small office, you walk into a shop, you walk into a service center, you are completely ignored. You just stand there. You don't know what to do. There's no sign saying sit here. There's nobody saying sit here. The place is just, everybody's just doing their own thing, waiting for you to call out to someone. Now, I want you to put this in perspective, and that's why I use the expression boss. I use the expression boss because I want you to, as an entrepreneur, as an emerging entrepreneur in the consumer goods space who is serving people outside, to recognize that that's your boss that just walked in. And if you are working in the corporate sector and your boss walked in, how would you respond? And your boss walked in the same way your customer walked in, how would you respond? So we're going to be dealing with all this in terms of what people are experiencing, but basically accepting. And the reason why we are accepting it is because there are a few reasons. One of the reasons is that many small businesses are monopolies in their own space. And I'll give you one example. I used to live in a UDEMY estate, and there was a laundry person in my neighborhood. I was what my job was very time consuming, so I don't have time during the week to do laundry. So I come out on a Saturday. One of the days I came out on Saturday, sometime around 2:33, and I discovered that this laundry person closes by 2 o'clock on a Saturday. And I said to myself, what does that mean? I came to Ghana for the first time, recently at that time, probably 2013, 2014. How can you close a laundry shop by 2 p.m. on a Saturday? It doesn't make sense at all. Reason, your main customers who you open the laundry shop for, the best time they have to do their laundry, to send their laundry to you, is weekends. It is better for you to have your day off on a Monday and work from Tuesday to Saturday or Tuesdays to Sunday after church than for you to be closing by 2 p.m. on this. It doesn't make sense at all. Now, the reason they can do that is because they are a monopoly. In that area, they are the only laundry shop. But somebody will come from Nigeria, somebody will come from South Africa, somebody will come from Cote d'Ivoire, open a shop and do what I'm telling you. They will open the shop on Saturdays from morning till 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. in the evening. Suddenly, you are out of business, and then you go out on a protest and say, they are taking our jobs. They are taking our jobs. It's a mindset. It's a mindset, right? So it's about adjusting. How do you make this boss happy? How do you make the customer happy enough to stay with you? Because what you are selling, anybody can sell it. Consumer goods. Anybody can sell what you're selling. How do you distinguish yourself? By the way you make the boss feel. We're going to be talking about that. And I gave that one reason. Monopoly. The monopoly of people, of certain businesses in certain areas. They feel that whatever I do, people will look for me. Someday, somebody else will come along and nobody will look for you anymore. And then the protests will start. Anyway, so that's another one. So the monopoly is there. The other reason why you may think doing things the way I want is okay is because the people have accepted it. They have accepted it because it's our culture to be quiet. Now, in some other, climate or climes, in some other environments, people demand customer experience. They demand it. They report you if you insult them. They take you to court. They go somewhere else. So the businesses that are offering services are always aggressively trying to do their best to make you happy. They are asking you whether you are happy. They are pursuing you to make sure you're happy. And you see, the day you begin to do that in an environment or on a continent, in a nation where nobody else is that particular about the boss, you distinguish yourself. You distinguish yourself. You distinguish yourself with a simple customer experience, with a simple call every month to your customer, with a simple text message that says, how you doing? With a simple birthday greeting. Now, these are examples. You may not do all of them, but the issue is getting the mindset that says, how do I connect with my customers? How do I make them happy? How do I give them an elevated space of importance? Because they are the boss. They are the boss. They are the one that pay the bills. And we're going to be dealing with that in graphic detail, line by line, for 2 hours. 2 hours on the 22nd of November. And that's why I'm talking about this. Let me invite Nuruddin to say hello, just in case he's in a place where he can. Always a good idea to sell on some of these engagements. So if you are able to come up, you can come up. In the meantime, I'll keep talking. I'll keep talking about this. Now, customer experience. I like I said, yeah. Hi, Nuruddin. How are you? Okay. I'm going to,
Hello.
not in a place where you can speak. I'm going to
Hello.
tell about 5 stories, and some of them are very sensitive stories. And those stories are true stories, but they are stories that are very revealing of how people do their businesses. And I want to cut you some slack as an emerging entrepreneur. It's possible that the person, the problem is not you. The problem is the people you've employed. So the people you've employed don't understand that you are not their boss. Or they don't understand that their boss has a higher boss. So they treat you with utmost respect. They fear you. Yes, sir, yes, sir. When you're around, they are running around. But they don't respect the customer that way, because they don't realize that if the customer does not bring in the money, there is no salary to pay them. So they end up spoiling your business and then looking for somebody else to work for, because that's how employees are. That's how employee mindsets are. Employee mindsets are, if I lose this job, I'll get another one. But employer mindsets are different. They know that this is something I'm building. I have to pay attention to it. So it's very possible that when we talk about creating elevated customer experience, when we talk about becoming obsessed with the customer, when we talk about becoming crazy that this person must enjoy my services so powerfully that they come back, your employee knows nothing about that. Now, you need to bridge that gap. You bridge that gap first with how you treat your employees. You bridge that gap with how you pay them. You bridge that gap with what promise of the future you are giving them. You bridge that gap with how involved they are in your decision making and all that. We probably talk about all this next week, 22nd of November. So there's a way to bridge the gap between what you would have done for your customer and what you expect your employees to do for them. So it is essentially something you have to think about. We're going to be talking about that because in some of the stories I'm telling, it is not the owner of the enterprise I'm talking to, it is an employee. So it shapes the conversation. Sometimes also, we are going to talk about a story that deals with visibility, online visibility. How do you interact with people online? When you put your number out there, do you think only nice sounding customers will be calling you? Some will call you, maybe they have seen your nice picture as a lady, and they say, wow, this lady has put her number online. They are not calling you for business. They're calling you to be friends with you. How do you handle that as somebody who has put themselves in the public space? Because once your number is out there, you have a website, you have a phone number out there, you have an email address out there, all sorts of things will come. How do you handle it in such a way that you still elevate whoever is calling to that position? I'm going to tell a story about when somebody actually cast a spell on me over the phone because I called the number with and why they did that. The other one is, I'm going to also talk about formal mechanisms for dealing with the typical eventualities of a business. Now, these mechanisms are from big corporations: incident management, problem management, change management, and so forth. These mechanisms, I believe very strongly that the philosophy behind them can be applied in small businesses. And these are things we could sit down and articulate line by line. The philosophy of, for example, making a promise to your customers of what to expect. We call that service level management, or service level agreements and so forth. Making a promise that says, if you pay me today, you will get your product in 24 hours. And whenever you make that promise, you try to make promises that you can keep. But you see, you manage expectations when those promises are clear. My apologies, my daughter is coming. You manage those expectations. You okay? All right, I'm back. Now you manage this expectation by the kind of, how do I put it? The promise you're making. How do you handle problems or incidents in terms of communication? Is it when they arrive at your doorstep or they make the order that they get to know that something is amiss? Oh, today my delivery person is sick. Oh, we don't have this week. What if you could make it more proactive? What if we could do a broadcast to customers to say, this is happening, or sorry for the inconvenience, we'll be back X times. And it takes a lot of discipline to do that, especially when you're a small business, but there are ways. And it's something that should be on your mind. You may not be able to do it now, but if you want to elevate your customer to the position of boss, those are some of the things you need to think about. Then the same thing with change management. You're moving shop. Nobody knows. Then when they arrive at the shop where your shop used to be is blank, then they call you and they say, oh, you didn't know? We have moved. How are they going to know? How do they know? You know, those kinds of things. Or you change business style. Maybe you are dealing in diapers before, you suddenly start dealing in drinks. And they come to your shop hoping to buy diapers, emergency diapers. You know those daddy emergency diapers. Daddy is the one taking care this weekend, and he didn't realize there are no diapers at home. He rushes to your shop to pick up a diaper. He sees wine bottles all over the place. He didn't know you switched business. There are quite a few applications, but the point is the philosophy, the mindset around those things. We're going to be dealing with them on the 22nd of November. How do you shape your experience? How do you take feedback? Are there mechanisms for feedback, or you're just doing your own thing? If they like it, they buy. If they don't like it, they don't, let them go somewhere else. That's the attitude of some. And that attitude creates a suboptimal experience for you. You can't grow beyond a certain ceiling. You can't grow beyond a certain ceiling. You have capped yourself by the attitude you have around the customer, because he's the boss. So if you say they like, let them buy. If they don't like, let them go somewhere else. I'm happy with the money I'm earning. You know, I was in Kenya some time ago, and I went to, excuse me. I was in Kenya some time ago, and I went to a shop where they do meat. What do you call it? It's like it's almost like kebab, but it's not really kebab. But they make with lamb with. And I was told, one of my friends who were talking with, it's like a local shop like this. It's just a kiosk, right? And he told me that the man had been doing that stuff for probably 25, 30 years. And he's in that kiosk. And his children were now taking over. Now, that is a good thing. That's a good thing that he's been doing it for 30 years, and that it was making enough money for him to raise his children, and his children were interested in it. But where I had a problem was that if he's been doing this for 30 years, is it possible that there were other ways he would do the business to elevate it to a higher status? Now, obviously, he must have been making money, some kind of money, some level of money, for him to last that long. Obviously, people would like to eat meat, right? But how about distribution channels? What kind of customers was he serving? And I'm hoping that his children will pick up and do it in more sophisticated ways, because every business we see today, the global KFCs, the global Mr. Bigs, and so forth, a lot of them were family businesses with people's names. We now call the names, and they are names of companies, but they were actually people's names. Lipton was somebody's name, if I'm not mistaken. So how do we think in that way, where we're asking ourselves, is there a more sophisticated way to do this? And if you remember, recently Mike Bamiloye is relaunching Agbaranla, which is a movie he did 32 years ago, right? And he's doing it again. And I want to say that one of the things I believe that got a lot more attention to Mount Zion Faith Ministries was the fact that his sons began to take up more modern platforms to interact with the audience. So embracing change, transformation is vital in how you do a business that everybody else is doing. Remember, this is about competition. Everybody else is doing. How do you distinguish? So if you're there in your cocoon and saying, if they like it, let them buy. If they don't like it, let them not buy. You're not consulting. You're not having conversations. You're not exploring. You're not asking your customers, is there a different way we can do this? Maybe a customer could have told that meat guy, do you want, how about we do a meat app? Buy my meat app. How about we use USSD to make orders? How about you start doing delivery? Because let me tell you, we had to drive to the place. We had to call to make the order, right? And then we had to drive to the place and we had to wait for the meat to be prepared. Of course, obviously, because the product itself is good, people are willing to wait. You wait in your car, there's no parking space, just corner. People are willing to wait. But the truth is that there could be a more efficient way to do it. Feedback. So we're going to be talking about some of these things as well. How do you manage all this? I could go on and on and on about what we are going to be dealing with in this session. And like I said, it is free for members of tscafrica.com, but it is $9.99 in your currency for everyone else who wants to attend. It is important that we do these things in a sustainable fashion, and I can guarantee you that if I collect your money, I'm going to give you value. And one of the things we are adding to this package, this is a 2-hour package. One of the things we're adding to this package is the opportunity to feature you on Immunity Africa. We're planning a session where we basically have a conversation with a few consumer goods entrepreneurs who want to market their product. And we're going to have insightful conversation that will attract an audience. And then we're going to have you talk about what you do in the best way you know how, so that you reach probably a little bit of a broader audience, and maybe learn a few things from others who will be on the show. 2 to 3 people in that show. So hopefully someone will take advantage of it. We're also going to give you access to TSC Africa. As you can see, we're going to be doing the course on the platform within tscafrica.com. So what that does is it means that once you decide I want to attend this course, you're going to pay for the course, but you're also going to get access to the platform and be able to enjoy all the other benefits of being in our community. The courses, the strategy course, common sense customer experience, simple technology for small business, and so forth. You come in and embrace that, connect with other people. There's a chat here. There's there are forums, group spaces. Connect with other people, get to know people, collaborate, etc. And maybe have one-on-ones with myself whenever you feel that you need that. So there are so many advantages of being within the community. But first of all, you come in, we learn about customer experience for 2 hours, and we'll give you free 1-month access. If you want to continue with us after that month, you're welcome. If you don't want to continue with us, we'll simply exit you until the next STSB session. That's how we're going to be operating, because we do need to create a mechanism for making sure that those who want to be in the community enjoy the best of it. So that's one of the things we're trying to do. In 2026, seeing how this works, we are likely to cut down our mean time to monthly, if that is the appetite, but it all depends on how people embrace the following few weeks. Because there's no point coming every week if people don't have time to engage every week. We could make it a monthly thing and then create that mechanism. And I'm answering Nuruddin's question in part that he asked offline when I mentioned to him some of my plans for next year. So we're going to find a way to reduce the energy we're injecting and focus that energy in the ways that make the most sense. And this is our test of that approach. So welcome to ask questions if you have a question in the chat, and if you can. Otherwise, we're going to close out. I'm going to look forward to others joining in. I'm going to ask you to just, if you're on social media and you've seen the advert, help us share it, tag someone, forward it to someone who may need it. Not everyone needs what we are saying. Some of what I say, some of them is very boring. Some people is employee mindset, or they are just happy where they are. They want to sell meat for 30 years before their children come and take it over. So there are many approaches to life. Not all not all must be my way. It's not my way or the highway. But I'm sure there are people out there who would love to engage with this kind of thinking, and I want you to share with them as much as you can. Thank you for being there. Thank you for being a member of Kabila, the strategy community. Invite someone, and I'll see you on the 22nd of November. God bless you. Bye.